Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Highlights. Today, we are with none other than the one, the only Petra Kolber. Petra, how are you?
I'm so good. It is always such a treat to be with you, Erin. Any excuse to have time with you, and I'm here.
Oh my gosh. Well, Petra and I, if you haven't met Petra or followed her or seen her work, we go back about 5-6 years
Yeah.
from the International Spa Association and speaking in the fitness world. And it's funny because Petra in the world of fitness is a total guru. I mean, hanging out with her in Vegas at these conferences, it was like hanging out with Bono. It was like full rock star celebrity. But for those of you who don't know Petra, she is an internationally renowned fitness authority and happiness facilitator. Her work is rooted in science and the science of positive psychology. She has choreographed and starred in over 60 award-winning workout programs and appeared as an inspirational speaker around the world. Petra, I loved your book. Loved
Thank
it.
you.
And I know that it came out a year or two ago, right?
About 2 years ago, you were
Yeah.
actually, I remember, Erin, you sat in, I had done the Perfection Detox at iSpa before the book came out. I was still like tweaking and testing and like seeing how the material would land with an audience. And I remember getting a beautiful text from you, just so sweet. You're running off to the airport and just your text, amongst other things, was just reminding me that, yeah, I think I'm on the right track. I keep going with this work.
Oh, it was so incredible. And you had the whole place just moved beyond belief. I just want to make sure that we're actually live streaming. I'm
Yeah, I
looking
don't see
on.
that.
I don't
I like
either.
I keep trying to like scroll down and
Um,
don't think we're live.
I don't think we are either. That's the beauty of the improv situation here. No, I don't see us. Oh, here we go. Live a few seconds ago. So we'll edit this part out on the Okay, I think we are. Yes, we are. Okay, I'm just going to
Don't see it.
more
It's all right.
options. Um, I don't know why. Do you see it now on your side?
We don't see it on Facebook, but that's okay.
Maybe you just want to refresh it and see if it's
We're trying to be discreet too, like
No, it's fine. It's okay. I think we only have like a couple people that'll be patient, hopefully. Here, let me just text
okay.
you. Here's the link. I'm gonna text it to you and then
All
we
right.
can
Awesome.
work this part out when we edit the podcast.
Got it. Hold on.
Part of the wild world of going live.
No, I see it. And now, oh, there we go. And I just need to share this though. How do I share this?
Let's make sure we have everyone hanging here.
Oh, now how can I? Oh, here. Now why can't I not share it? Damn. Oh, got it.
There we go. Okay. So I think we're good. I think we're on the interwebs. I think we're online. Thank you, our 3 people that are hanging in. We're gonna have a great combo. It'll be worth the wait.
Thanks, guys. I'm just trying to find my own page. I have so many pages. Why can I not share it to my own page?
That's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll just do it later.
Okay. Keep talking. Hi, guys. Hold on one second. I'm just gonna. Is this my own page? I don't know.
So this is a good podcast for you to check out if you are someone who has struggled with that voice that we all deal with, that inner critic voice. And I don't know about you all, but I just feel like in these times where we aren't always able, sure, we can be outside safely, socially distanced. Yes, we have social media. Yes, we have all this technology and FaceTimes and Zooms. And thank God for that. Okay. And we don't find ourselves going to these conferences and these conventions and even just a busy inside restaurant. Like there's so many moments of being connected with our fellow human that has been altered for the last couple of months. And so in that time, I don't know about you, but I feel like all of a sudden I can hear my inner critic or my inner voice a little bit more when there isn't so much distraction externally. So I don't know if you found revisiting some of the things in your book to be helpful, but I found a lot of these concepts to just be really timely for right now, especially. And one of the things I loved was your mindset around ruminating versus reflecting. You said, rumination is different from reflection. Reflection allows us to see the past for what it was versus what we wished it had been. And then you go through and you list out a chart of all the things that are in a rumination mindset versus a reflection mindset. So can you talk a little bit about that and how we can do a better job figuring out which mindset maybe we're embracing these days?
Yeah, well, I think, it's interesting, Erin, like so I think when COVID first happened, right? That first month, I almost felt like perfectionism was a little trite in a way. It's like, well, who cares? The world's come to a stop. But then the more time we have on our own, you're absolutely correct. Our mind, the more not idle, but the more still we are, right? We're not rushing to work. There's more gaps between what we're doing and who we are. The more it's able for our brain to fire up. And so rumination versus reflection is kind of also work by Carol Dweck. She calls it fixed mindset versus growth mindset.
Right, sure.
Little different, but similar ideas behind it. So when we can reflect, it allows us to look at ourselves, our lives, the lives where we've led, the lives that we're hoping to lead through the lens of appreciative inquiry, which basically means learning versus judgment. When we ruminate, and we kind of like, they call it this, literally chewing the cud, chewing on your thoughts on the past, more so than the future. What it does, it moves us into this spin cycle of rinse, lather, repeat, rinse, lather, repeat. And anything you repeat long enough, it's going to take literally root. You get rooted in that. And what happens, the main difference is, Erin, when you're ruminating on something that's not even the situation that we're in right now. Why did this happen? I can't believe this is happening. And what am I going to do? And you just keep running that tape.
Yeah.
There's no room for an answer to step in. It's just cycling the problem, like in a washer, right? In a washer and dry, just cycling the same problem. But it's not allowing us to open the door and let some air into this and go, okay, now we have this challenge. What are we going to do with it? So when we reflect, going, wow, this is a challenging time for the world. It's a challenging time for me, my life, my dreams. And how am I going to turn this challenge into an opportunity? How am I going to choose to seek the good in this? What can I do to make the best to start this next iteration of my life in a place where the world has seemingly stopped? So you're still going to run things over, but you're putting an answer and a solution, not necessarily the perfect solution, right? We're waiting for the perfect idea, the perfect solution, the perfect answer to get going. But rumination is just running us deeper and deeper and deeper into the negative. Where we reflect, we can still look at things as a challenge. It doesn't have to be rose-colored glasses, but we're making a bit of a pause where we can come up with a solution to take steps to move more to the positive than just sit and spiral in the negative.
It sounds so easy. And when you talk about it, I hear you and I'm like, yes, okay, duh. But why is it so much easier said than done? I mean, I think backing up for a second, let's talk about perfectionism as a concept, like what it is, because you might be listening and thinking, I don't know if I'm a perfectionist. I don't really, but I kind of didn't think I really was either. And then I started reading some of your narratives and some of your experiences and how you defined it. And I recognized I felt attacked, as the kids say. I saw myself in some of these pages and I was like, wow, okay, maybe there's something here that I wasn't even intentionally aware of. So one of the definitions that you have in the introduction of your book is you're quoting Elizabeth Gilbert, who has been quoted a lot on this podcast in just 3 episodes. So I think we all have a mutual girl crush on Liz Gilbert. But you said that she said, perfectionism is just fear in really good shoes. So let's unpack that a little bit. I mean, what's your definition of perfectionism? I mean, you explain it throughout the book, but let's hear kind of your high level.
I think if I had to say it now, Erin, it's wanting to be different than who you are. It's that. It's wanting to be, instead of not saying that there's not work to do, right? I mean, I know for myself, my life, there is still so much I want to learn and do and achieve and strive, but it doesn't mean that who I am right in this moment is not magnificent. And so the moment we think we need to be different than who we are in any capacity, we're moving into this area that could be viewed as perfect. If I was a little smarter, if I was just a little prettier, if I was just a little younger, if I was just a little closer to what society and our brain has been told is perfect. Because we've been given this idea that, if you're perfect, if the work's perfect, if the relationship is perfect, then that's a successful job, career, relationship. Where in actuality, who has even said what perfect is? But the reason we buy into this so easily, like you had said before, Erin, it sounds so easy to do. There's two things. One is media sells to our weaknesses. If we truly believed that we were perfect, well, I wouldn't need the neck creams. I wouldn't need the makeup. I wouldn't need the, so there goes that revenue. I wouldn't need the fitness workout. And our brain loves to focus on the negative. It's the negativity bias. It's conditioned to hook onto what could hurt us, kill us, destroy us in our ancestors. The challenge is that part of our brain has been with us the longest. So it's the fastest to fire up, ramp up. And now, like you mentioned, Erin, a lot of us are sitting right in front of Zooms, like nonstop. And the more idle our body is, the more our negative critic has room to ramp up and just go haywire.
Oh gosh. And it's so funny because when I was reading your book, I mean, you can't see Petra on the podcast, but when you look her up in the show notes, I mean, Petra, you are gorgeous and so talented and so fit. And I was so surprised to read that even you struggle with these image issues or did, with different things where you didn't feel like you were enough. And I'm like, I remember when I first met you, I was like, oh my God, I'm like, this girl is amazing. And so I was thinking, gosh, I wonder who else in our lives that we see on social media that we admire so much with the highlight reel and the filters. And I mean, you can do some incredible things with apps these days to, airbrush a thigh gap that doesn't exist. Not that I haven't done it. I'm just saying, you're comparing ourselves to this super curated experience of these people, and we don't really know what anyone is going through, and that's even before these times. Now in these, I'm not calling it the new normal anymore. I'm calling it the weird now.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I
was now.
I was looking for. I cannot say new normal anymore. I'm going to borrow that. It's like, and quote you, Erin. The weird now.
The weird now. And in the weird now, to your point, we're spending more time on screens, and we are comparing ourselves to not just the perfect people in our newsfeed, but also I think there's some comparison and perfectionism in terms of I'm not enough right now in how we're responding to the weird now. Because I don't know about you, but I see other authors and speakers and thought leaders, and I'm like, gosh, they are living their best quarantine life. And I'm over here like pandemic, like reacquainted with white carbs. And I feel every day like I'm just going to create my way out of it as best I can. But I feel the most lost in my business that I felt in a long time. And so it's interesting that you said that the definition of perfection is just not being stoked on where you are right now. And I guess my question would be, if someone listening is feeling like that, or is feeling like that sometimes on the Corona coaster, when you're on a low, not a high, what's the first step we should take or a question we should ask to begin to move away from that unhealthy narrative?
Yeah, I think, and also that idea of being stoked even where you are right now. It's not even that. It's just like, can you be at peace? Can you be at peace with where you are right now? Now, peace is not in, I think people often get the idea of like, well, if I'm peaceful, I'm going to lose my mojo. I'm going to lose my hustle. I'm going to lose my drive. No, but what happens is then, Erin, if you can come from a place of all knowing that right now you are amazing, and there still might be work to do. What it is, it's like I had this conversation with so many women. Well, if I give up this striving for perfection, I'm going to lose the C-suite. I'm going to lose the golden ring. I'm like, no. You probably will even have more success, because when you're running the race from a place of perfectionism, you're not going to ask for help because you're going to think that means you're weak. You're not going to ask for assistance because they're going to think that means I'm not smart enough. You're not going to say I don't know, because then your perfectionism is going to say, see, you don't really belong in this room. You don't really belong in the C-suite. So when we're working from a place of fear and doubt and judgment, I'm going to get found out, like I don't really belong here. I think what you think success is, you're only halfway there. Because imagine if you actually let out, like you had a relationship with the people that you work with alongside. You could go to them and say, I don't know. Who here knows the answer? Who wants to collaborate? It allows for relationships to thrive and flourish that just cannot thrive when you're micromanaging your team, micromanaging yourself. So that's one part of it. The second part is, first is just acceptance and awareness and recognizing awareness with that reflection lens, right? Versus awareness with judgment. So we might say, well, and like, I agree with you, like at the beginning of COVID, I'm kind of jumping all over the time, but at COVID, right, it was like a productivity race. It's like, oh my God, so-and-so's got a summit going, and then we got this going, and how to do Zoom perfect. And then we're like, what?
Right.
I'm
You're
not
like, how did they build that whole production studio in 1 second? Like, I barely have a Zoom camera. I mean, it was very intimidating, right?
know. And I'm looking at you, how you have turned your speaking business. I'm so impressed by that. And that's what I see right on the outside. We don't see the struggles and the exhaustion and the trying and the not working and all of that. In this microwave moment, we see the success. We see Erin's overnight success in the virtual speaking world. Well, in reality, since March, you've been hustling and figuring things out and going, well, that didn't work. And let's try this model. And what I call planting the seeds of possibility. And then all we see this is Erin's like, wow. And when in reality, she's already been like busting her tail. But that's what perfection does. It doesn't allow us to see the truth of the effort, the truth of the struggle. So I think the first thing is awareness. And how do we find awareness? Basically, I would say to anyone, if you have a thought that comes in, doesn't have to feel like it's a thought around perfection.
Okay.
It could be a thought that I should be doing better. I should be doing it different. That should thought, right? I should be. Right behind that, it means there's a should. The should is tied to enoughness, meaning I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should be doing it better. It's also tied into what I call the disease of enoughness. I'm not smart enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not tech savvy enough. And then I want to say just enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Wow.
And so the awareness is when you think of striving to be perfect or doing things differently, does that thought bring you joy or does it suck the joy out of you? And that would be the first question I invite your listeners to ask themselves. If I am striving for success in the weird normal, in the weird now, when I think of striving in a certain way, does it actually excite me? Do these thoughts of trying things differently, does it actually bring more joy to my life? Or does it suck the joy out of me? And if it's sucking the joy out of you, I guarantee those thoughts are being fueled subconsciously by fear, doubt, worry. I got to do it differently because I'm not enough right in this moment. And that's when we begin to have the awareness. And then we take acceptance that we're not the only ones feeling this way. I feel this way. Erin feels this way. I wrote a book on the blinking subject and I still struggle with it. So, and then it's taking action.
So okay. So I love the fact that, first of all, you're so open and vulnerable in this book. I mean, you really unpack the truth behind things that you struggled with, that being this huge character from the fitness industry, I don't know if anyone knew that those were some of the experiences that you had struggled with, because you see that you were the face of Reebok and you were, just crushing New York City and you were like you are this guru. And I thought that one of the chapters that really gave me chills that I stopped and I highlighted literally in a major way was the chapter where you talked about whose voice is in your head. Because a lot of what you were just talking about is like this internal dialogue, right? This internal narrative and what we're saying and where it's starting. And the question you pose is you say on page 47, reflect back and ask yourself, who actually emptied my bucket? Those are the voices we want to let go of. Now ask yourself, who filled my bucket? Those are the voices we need to pay more attention to. Anytime we visit our past, we tread lightly and cautiously. Many of my negative thoughts came in the voices of people I had admired as I was growing up. And then go down and you share some really painful revelations of words people shared that had seared a moment in your brain that you still remember. So how do we start to pay attention to our bucket fillers? How do we know the line between someone that maybe we thought was a bucket filler, but then maybe over time we start to maybe re-examine if that's still the truth? How do we maybe evaluate people and not be too overcritical and maybe they're bucket emptiers, but they mean well, like they're trying to be constructively critical? Like, how do we discern those relationships?
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because it's the relationships of the past, and then you become wiser, and it's the relationships of the present too. And there's the relationships of who we have yet to meet. Yeah. So in the past, for many of us, we're just too young to be able to discern between positive reinforcement, positive striving to like, you can do anything with effort. You might not be there yet, but or like I call it the breaking you down model, but forgetting to build you back up again. That fear, there's a lot of that. Like, I'm going to break you down and we're going to build you back up. But a lot of my role models broke me down, but they just forgot to build me back up. And I was at an age when you look up to these people, you're not wise enough yet to go, oh, that's just an opinion. And the challenging thing is that not all of us are going to have our parents as role models. And the interesting thing is, Erin, when I interview women, and there's been a few of them when I said, have you ever questioned, your capacity to be, to fulfill your dreams? A couple of them have said no. And I was like,
wow.
Exactly.
Good for you.
Wow. And then I asked them, who were your role models? And guaranteed it was a parent or both parents that have said, you can do anything with work. We believe in you. We're here for you. Now, I had an amazing mom and had an alcoholic father. And so what happened is my mom loved and I'm sure my dad loved me too, but my mom was so busy trying to keep a roof over my head. She could not be there in the role model that I know she would have wanted to be. So then I looked to my next, like my dance teachers or my other. And unfortunately, they built their brand over, you're not enough. You're never going to make it. And, whether they remember that or whether when they left the dance studio, they forgot all of that and then put on top of that a choreographer who I revered, then saying you could lose a few pounds. And I guarantee you, Erin, he'd walked out the studio, completely forgot he even said that. But when you're admiring someone, you not only listen to what they say, you take on this false narrative as your new truth. Totally. That's when the danger happens. So, several years of therapy, I finally unwrangled that and went, wow, all this anxiety, it was never even my voice in the first place, because we're all born with this idea that when we come out of our mom, we believe we're fantastic. We're like, we are the center of attention until someone tells us differently. And at that moment, we're cracked. That moment, someone tells you, you're not enough. You should be doing it differently. You need to change yourself in some way. That's when this tricky path begins. And now, I'll shut up in a moment. But then we now have this knowledge. We have this awareness. We know which type of people bring joy into our life, which people suck the joy out of us. Then you're old enough and wise enough. You get to choose. You are the closest 5 people around you. Pick wisely, my friend. Pick wisely the people you follow on social. Pick wisely the people you choose to have conversations with. We're now grown-ups. We get to choose. And again, look, for many years, Erin, I didn't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. I didn't want to upset I wanted everyone to love me at my own expense. And now I've grown up enough to say, no. And no one is going to come between me and my happiness. And if that's the kind of, recently I had a really kind of what I thought was a good girlfriend. And I guess I made her feel bad. And doing that, she made me feel bad. And we've kind of separated because we both, it's fine. It's just, but it's like, this is the reality. We're both grown-ups. And you get to make choices that are for your best interest. And I'm sure we'll circle back again and, all of that stuff. But we have the power to choose. At every moment, you have the power to choose. Keep coming back. Which relationships bring joy to my life? Which relationships, when I think about them, the conversations they have.
It's so true. And breaking up with a girlfriend is so much worse than breaking up with the romantic relationship sometimes. I mean, I will say I've only broken up with 2 girlfriends that were dear friends of mine in the last probably 25 years. And I'm still a little bit more scarred about those experiences than even some ex-boyfriends. But to your point, like when you recognize someone who really isn't filling your bucket, especially if you're a loyalist and you're a ride or die girls kind of girl, it is hard to know if the relationship that you had categorized as being healthy and incredible has turned toxic. And it's like, you don't want to be this flaky older millennial, who's just like, oh, it's not working for me. Like, I'm going to go my best life without you. It's like, you don't want to be this person that doesn't have any stick-to-itness and any grit or any resilience. And you don't want to be someone that's just in it because you're afraid not to be. And it's just a weird space,
Yeah, but I think too, it's like, it's not about, it's like what was that great saying? I can't think of it. Some people come into your life for a season, a reason, or a
Or a
lifetime.
lifetime.
And I'm
So
sure
good.
with any relationship, girlfriends, romantic partners, even family sometimes, right? There's moments when you're so in sync. And again, it's not, I'm sure, when if your bucket's not being filled, you're probably not filling their bucket either. So it's just, especially in this COVID moment, I think we're all a little like stretched thin, and things that we might have, not even the word tolerated is not correct. The things we might have brushed aside feel a little bit more amplified right now.
Yes,
We're a little bit more raw. We're a little bit less
absolutely.
patient, like 5 months in now. I remember when this first started, Erin, I was doing a morning like coffee chat, like 2 mornings a week, just for women to
Yeah.
come together. I remember saying to them, I want you to imagine 2 months out. Because, we think this might last a month, but let's go 2 months if it ends before. Oh my gosh. And here we are, what, 5 months, 6 months? So again, we don't know. And again, it's just like treating yourself with love, compassion, treating your friends, whether they're still in your life right now or not, with love and compassion. Don't put too much, don't ruminate on why didn't that work? What happened?
Yeah.
Reflect with loving kindness. Go, well, we have to part ways right now. It doesn't have to be forever. And and just like
I
there was
love
a
that.
reason, there was a season, and our life.
And yeah, well, hopefully we're lifetime friends. I would say of all the steps, step 1 to 21, which I love how you have the 21 steps, because it feels like this incredible program where you know exactly where to go. There's so many of these books that are incredible that give these big ideas, but I love the program. I love a program that I can follow, So if you're listening to this and you're saying, gosh, I would love to be less of a perfectionist. I would love to tame my inner critic. I'd love to unleash my joy. This book really does guide you through step by step. And the one that resonated for me the most was step 16, moving from a perfectionist to a passionist. And I've never heard the term passionist before. So I don't know if that's a Petraism, but it's really strong. And it is good. And you say on page 154 that both the passionist and the perfectionist want the same things out of life. The only difference is that one is driven by possibility and joy, and the other by fear and dread. So good. And then you say what non-perfectionists understand about life is that what's normal is imperfection.
And
Oh,
Erin, if
so
we
good.
cannot embrace that in this moment in time,
That's why I was
when
like,
will we? And this is like,
right.
but and it's so weird. Like I say to people right now is the time to run, because no one cares about perfect. Everyone's trying to figure it out.
Amen.
And then now, like you see, and your business, right? Social media is now more important than ever. Zoom on camera, people who never had to be on screen looking at themselves are now. And I'm hearing, I haven't read the statistic myself, but someone told it to me, so this might be wrong. But Botox again is on the rise, and facial, because people now feel they have to be perfect on camera. So it's always going to be there, whether it's physical, whether it's an age thing, whether it's a fitness thing, whether it's, because I say, our inner critic, she's tricky. Because I made peace. So when I was in the fitness world, Erin, why I struggle so much with this is because when I first started, I had so much joy. I was a passionist. No one knew who I was. They called me Petra Kolber. No one can pronounce my name. I was like, I had nothing to prove. So I was just having a blast figuring this thing out called fitness in New York. And then I got with Reebok, and then I got some fame, and then I was on TV, and then an expert. And all of a sudden, this idea of expert came back to the back of my brain from my dance teachers that said, you're never going to make it. You're not good enough. So I was like, so the power of the present, right? This amazing opportunity to be joyful and an expert met my demons of the past.
Wow.
And so I had this moment, right? Like everyone's telling me I'm this, but I'm believing I'm that. So what happened is that gap between what we're living and who we think we are, that's when the problem comes. And so I was a passionist at first. I had no idea. And then when I believed, my definition of expert, Erin, was I should know everything. I should have all the answers. I should know how the body moves perfectly. And so what happened is I began to feel like when I go and speak publicly, I was always 3 steps ahead, waiting for someone to ask me a question that I didn't know. Now
Oh,
I've made peace with that. Now I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. I'm like, I have no problem with someone asking me a question. I'm going, you know what? It's a great question. I have no idea. Does anyone in this room know what the answer is? Because what that does, it builds community. It makes them feel great, and it makes
so
them
good.
part of the conversation. Now, though, I've gotten rid of that inner critic. Don't you think another one's come up? Not that you should be smarter.
Oh,
It's like, should you be younger?
oh,
No, 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 no,
Petra.
no. So no, this is not for sympathy. So here's what I do, right? No, it's all good. So like I looked at that. So now what you do is you look at your Achilles heel right in the
Okay.
freaking eye. And I go, okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna take you on. And so what I'm doing now next year, I'm like, okay, so I learned to DJ at 56. Huh.
So cool.
57, I am going to start traveling the world next year. And I'm going to interview women of my age. We're going to talk about sexuality, relevance, meaning, and purpose. And so we're going to go around the world to this global conversation of finding meaning and passion in midlife. So I'm going to look my fear right in the face.
I just got
Let's
chills.
bring it, because the minute you talk about it, and now when I'm talking about this, it's got no power over me. Because
So
I'm going to
good.
race you to the finish line, you know? So,
It's so good.
yeah.
It reminds me. So first of all, that's incredible. I love this game plan. The fact that you did learn how to DJ is just so badass. As an aside, and what a great plan to travel the world. And it reminds me of So I'm a surfer, and there is advice in the surfing world that if a shark is coming for you, even though your initial response, like if you see a shark fin, which is probably never going to happen, like 8 people a year are killed by shark attacks. It's like being struck by lightning divided by whatever. It's like not
Okay.
going to happen.
Okay.
But if it was to happen, your initial reaction would be to swim away and avoid it.
Yeah.
But what surfers say to do, experienced surfers, is they say if you see a fin coming towards you, you are supposed to paddle directly towards it.
Right.
Directly at it. And so that reminds me of kind of what you're talking about, because it sounds insane to be like, if I don't like this thing, why would I go towards it? But it diffuses its power and knocks it off course. It's so genius. And it's a great way to put blockers on what you call on page 191, you call them broken eyes.
Mm.
And you said your good friend Annie,
Yeah.
who we met in step 6, calls seeing ourselves through broken eyes
That was
part
her
of
term. Yeah.
her term, part of the problem. And you basically said like that what's scary is that this gap between how we see ourselves and how others see us. And you talk about your friend Jennifer that went through all these different struggles. And I think that in the fitness industry in particular, this is just a breeding ground for this type of challenge, this type of gap. And I guess whether you're the leader of a company or you're the leader of your home, however you're a warrior sister in your space, what would be your advice to people who hear everyone saying that's not who you are, but they just can't seem to still feel it in their heart? They can't seem to like reprogram what they see in the mirror. Like, I mean, what do you say to them?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I think the hard one, especially when it comes to how we look for women, let's be honest, that's the elephant in the room. I mean, you can do a lot of work, but whether it's weight, whether it's age, whether it's looking different, whether it's not fitting in, that's a hard one. I think at the end of the day, and as I get older and as I fur babies in the house. I know you can't see them in there, but sorry. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, and this is where I live more and more of my life. Do you want to get to the end of your life leaving regrets? Or do you want to build a regret-proof life? And the only way you're going to do that is by making peace with who you are today. And look, people say, "Oh, learn to love yourself." I'm going, okay, let's just back that up a little bit. Learn to like yourself. I mean,
wow.
And then I think the big thing, and this is, look at me out. Can I get out there just a little bit? I think when we remember truly that our body, our looks, whatever, it's just a vessel. It's not who you are. It's just the vehicle to move you into your most magnificent life. And if you are looking at your vehicle as a definition of success, you will never feel fulfilled because there's always going to be someone younger, prettier, wiser, more handsome.
Oh,
Always.
it's true. It's so true. I'll never
Yeah.
forget when I first realized that the whole keeping up with the Joneses, we've all heard that concept a million times.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, like when you read a coffee mug mantra or whatever, and you're like, okay, yeah, okay, live in the moment, be here now, whatever. But when you have those moments in your life where all of a sudden you feel it, you don't just know it, but you actually feel it. Hartman and I we went to Monaco in the south of France. We had this beautiful vacation. It was so wonderful. It was so spectacular. We were like, wow. And we went to the Monaco Yacht Show.
Oh,
And
I can only imagine.
And all of a sudden, it was such an insane display of wealth from around the world with these yachts that were the size of like apartment buildings in New York City and planes and helicopters. And for me, it sounds so strange, like, oh, cool, you went to the yacht show. I'm not trying to be a braggosaurus about that. My point is I sat there and looked at all this incredible wealth, and I realized that literally in the world, there are just other echelons and other echelons and other echelons. And it was just, for me, it was a click moment where I just immediately, I've never again looked at my friend's house or my friend's car, because it's like this endless black hole. It's a game you can't win. And so I don't know if you can engineer a moment for yourself. If you're listening to this and you find yourself still playing this unwinnable game, either you can engineer a moment for yourself or just be open to when that moment strikes and anchor on it. Because I will still have moments where I'll think, oh, my brother has this big, beautiful house, or like little moments where you start to, because it's just natural, right? It's just natural. And I'll remember that Monaco Yacht Show and think there is always a bigger boat. It's just funny what like moments are that just make you kind of really realize it. And I think that's why, like mantras are important, and having things to anchor on are important to just help you get back on the path that you're supposed to be on, because we all get sucked into that stuff. It's just human, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing is, don't judge yourself, right? We are humans. I'll probably walk out of this after this interview, Erin, and completely judge myself like, well, Erin, it's like, I remember when I look at your speaking, because we met each other, right? And you were about, and I was just like so blown away by you. And there could be that moment where I was like, envious of you. And I just there's this mad respect for each other that allowed me to hold this space. So I think the first thing to know, what metrics are you measuring? What metrics are we measuring? Is it money? Is it fame? Is it success? Is it wealth? Is it relationship? I mean, and again, we're going to compare ourselves. What comparison is a thief of joy. So just look at that. And then right away, if you find yourself doing that, send that person or whatever it is that you're comparing, send them love. I am so happy for your success. Even if you don't know them, I am so grateful that you're doing so well, because it allows me to see that it's possible. The minute we send gratitude, the person that we're actually envious about, it shifts. And even if you don't believe it, just send it. And then it's triggers, and we're human. And then don't judge yourself and just go. What I try and do now, Erin, instead of going, oh, that was a stupid thought, Petra, you know better than this, you teach. It's like, oh, that was interesting.
I love that.
So I use that lens. That's interesting. Why? Because if I go, I can't believe you had that thought about Erin and her speaking career. That's so stupid of you. And she's a good friend of yours. That just, again, it shuts me down. It doesn't leave room for learning and compassion. But if I go, oh, that's interesting. Why are you having that thought about Erin? Oh. And then it allows you to unravel the BS and go, what's really underneath that? And, I don't know what, because I don't feel that way. But that allows you to unravel the negative. It's not a failure. It's a lesson.
Right. And our reactions to others are just reflections of how we feel about something else, right?
Totally.
And so I love that you talked about metrics. Let's unpack that a little bit. So, people always say that, what they don't like. We always know what we don't want. We don't want to be like this. We don't like, it's so much easier to find what we don't want. Why is it so hard to figure out what it is that we do want? Like, it's so easy to run away from things, but why is it so hard to run towards things? And I think there might be something with that perfectionist tendency that I did not realize I had a streak in me when I read your book, because I was like, wow, I am so quick to be judgy or, just not impressed with something. But then Hartman, my husband, he'll say, well, what do you want? What are you trying to move towards? And that's when I start stuttering, and it's like, well, just not that. He's like, well, that's not the answer.
I like Hartman. He's so great.
So why do we do that? And how can we what are some steps to get more clear on what we want to run towards? Like, you just outlined what you're running towards. You were like, okay, I'm feeling these feelings. I don't want to feel them. So I'm going to run towards DJing. I'm going to run towards this incredible world tour. I'm going to run towards creating these women's groups. I mean, you're always running towards what you want to replace what you don't. And so if someone doesn't really know how to do that, what would be sort of your advice for them to start even deciding what that is?
Yeah.
It's so hard.
No, it's so hard. And it's a great exercise. Because you know why it's so hard, Erin? Because we all have dreams, right? But what happens is our logical thinking brain shuts them down. I'm British. So, girl, we are not taught to dream. Or like, I'll never forget this. I'm going to share this with love. My mom rests in heaven. She'll be smiling right now. But I'll never forget. Our brain wants to protect us. Our parents want to protect us. And so I never forget when I got my first contract with Reebok. And I think at the time I was teaching like 25 fitness classes for like $6 an hour in New York. It was ridiculous. It wasn't that bad, but I was like running from, and then I got this incredible contract.
Wow.
It moved from a job to a career. And I called up my mom and said, oh my God, now I got a 3-year contract. It was stupid money back in the day. It's stupid money today. And she said, and the first thing she's like, I said, oh, I'm going to give up some classes because I don't have to run so hard. She goes, I'm so happy for you, but what if it doesn't work out?
Oh.
Because she didn't mean it. She just didn't want me to get hurt. So that's what we do with our dreams. Our logical thinking brains goes, okay, Petra. So I go, oh, I want to travel the world next year. And then on my butt, but what about insurance? What about health? What about blah, blah, blah? And it can come up with a million reasons why not to. So what I invite your listeners to do right now, actually, let's do it together.
Okay.
Get really calm. And I'm going to invite you to consider, imagine your life a year, 3 years, 5 years from now. Pick a time. A year, 3 years, 5 years from now. Everything had gone well. Nothing had gotten in your way. The universe was working in your favor. Opportunity after opportunity opened up. You said yes, and you got ready for the opportunity. Feel it in your heart. Everything had gone well. And I'm going to ask you these 4 questions. Where would you be, or where are you? What would you be doing, or what are you doing? Who would you be with, or who are you with? And how would you be feeling? How are you feeling? Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? How are you feeling? And then I'm going to ask you, when you have time, write that down in present tense. I am Petra. I just went to Erin's amazing talk on a yacht in Monaco, and she just got paid $100 million, whatever. And then I am sitting here with my tribe of women who are 65, and we are DJing. I don't know what it's not that.
Yeah, no, it's so
what happens is we dream and then we down level it. So when you can put like, where would I be, and everything on what it does, while that might not come to fruition, what it helps anchor to you is what's important to you. Because for many of us, we've put off to the side what's important for what we should be doing. So for example, if I was to say, I'm on the beach with my kids and my husband's out, I don't know, getting the groceries back to our villa, whatever. Right then it reminds you, oh, family is important. Because nowhere in my dream is family mentioned. Because that for me is not a driver right now. For me, it's inspiring other women. So it helps you, not even the dream or that best possible future self, which is work by Dr. Laura King. It allows you actually to root back into your values of the present that you might have forgotten about. For me, if you've noticed, I always say it's always somewhere international, because travel has always been a big thing for me. And I kind of put that off to the back burner. So that's why I'm going to kind of make up for lost time next year. But it helps you remember all those dreams that you put off. You say, oh, I'll get to that when I have time. And we forgot to go back to them.
That exercise, I hope everyone does this exercise, and I'll write down those questions in the show notes so we can all go through and do it. When you said the word, imagine what your life looks like, that even the word imagine, you post a lot about that beautiful imagine mosaic that you have outside your apartment in New York on your social media channels. And is there any more powerful word to just transport you internally, plug into that inner voice, and pay attention to that knee-jerk output. Because as soon as you said that, if I had my eyes open and I was feeling like I would have to answer in front of all these people, or I don't know that I would have had the same answer, but I knew that I had my eyes closed. You said imagine, and I just paid attention to the first thing that came forward for me. And it was such an obvious feeling. It was just this feeling of like pride that my new book touches the right women and makes them actually make a change in their lives. And it was just like, boom. And so it's funny because we think we don't know, but we do know, don't we? We really do. But it's like that word, like you said earlier, that word should is like this intuition blocker,
Yeah.
right?
I don't remember where I heard it, but I think this is so powerful. First feelings are always better than second opinions.
Whoa. First
First
feelings are always better than second opinions.
And what happens, we know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then we second guess ourselves because what might they say? What might they think? And if you really think about they, we don't even know who they are. Because the people who truly have your back, the people in your choir that you'll call in, this is where you can decipher who you should keep in your choir or not. Because if those people that don't rally around you go, yeah, Erin, I am so here for you. Petra, I'm hosting. They're not your good friends. But often when we think, what will they think? It's those people on social media. We have no idea who they are.
That don't matter.
No, and I got to tell you, Erin, this happened to me like about 5 months ago. An opportunity came my way, and I sat with it for a long, long time. And like, this is a great opportunity. Why are you second guessing? Why are you second guessing your first feeling? And I really sat with it. I'm like, what is this about? I went, I'm worrying what people might think of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's the power of doing the work. See, you've done the work. You've done the reflection, you've done the research, you spend your time journaling, you do your gratitude practice, your affirmations. It's like reps. It's like being in shape for a workout. And so when those big pivotal moments come and you find yourself at this intersection, that muscle is ready to rock. That muscle is ready to climb. And I think we all can take inspiration from that and just realize that it doesn't just happen. You don't just become good at that. You work for it. And we can all. That's the great thing is it's accessible to all of us if we want to put in the work, right?
I think you said something before, Erin, that's so powerful about fear, right? It's this idea of fear. We think we have to run away from it. One of my favorite sayings is by Petra Kolber. It might be in the book. Fear is a sign you're getting closer to your truth. Fear is just a reaction to something. So if you can sit with let's call them the imperfect thoughts, the fear, the worry, the doubt, the anxiety, don't run from it because anything you don't own will own you. So that's why I'm running towards my age full on, because I want to live the possibility. But sit, get quiet. Doesn't have to take long. And something might come up, something might not come up. But if you keep stopping and pausing long enough, your gut will tell you what it is that you truly are afraid of. And then you just make room for that. You don't kick it away because fear is a natural part of who you are. It's okay to be afraid. It's not okay to allow fear to stop you.
It's so strong, Petra. It really is. Oh, there's so much greatness in this book. And I have to just say that this is the one passage of your whole book. It got a triple star on the Post-it note, and it got a triple star in a highlight. So this was for me the part that I actually got a little bit emotional. I think it was a full moon. So yesterday I was rereading it. It was a full moon in Pisces, not to be a California weirdo. But okay. So page 194, you talk about, for us to take the final leap into living bravely, we have to accept all of ourselves, no matter what our size, age, or wrinkle level. Taking the leap means learning to exercise our luxury of choice. We sometimes forget that we have this, and I am here to remind you. I'm not saying it's easy to make this choice. In fact, it can be extremely challenging, because it goes against everything society has taught you and everything perfectionism tells us that we should be. And then here was the big bomb drop. To find the power you need to choose acceptance, you have to tap into that brave place that resides deep within. The part of you that does not buy into what you're told and sold every day. The lie that we need to be beautiful, young, and wrinkle-free to be worthy of having a life of our dreams. The part of you that has been untouched and is unscathed by the outside world. and is immune to your inner critic. In this place, you will meet the authentic you. Oh, so good. That part made me get really emotional because every one of us wants to find that place and tap into that place. And now more than ever. And I think that step one is to read this book, obviously. But two is to really hear what Petra is saying, which is that a lot of her advice is about tuning out the external. And you keep using the phrase sit with it. Sit with this for a while, sit with it. And the beautiful moment of this time, the silver lining of all this, weird nowness, is that some of us do have extra space or time to sit with some of these questions. So when you, like, literally tactically, when you go and sit with something, I mean, do you literally go and sit on your couch? Like, walk us through, like, when Petra's sitting with something, how do I go and sit with something to achieve this authentic you-ness that you are so good at doing from work?
Well, I think the first thing is there's no way to sit perfectly, right? It's all take it off the table. Sometimes for me, it's sitting like, for me, it's I can't sit on a sofa. I have to be grounded to the floor. So I actually have a meditation cushion. So I sit on that. And then sometimes it can come to me. It's not always that I choose to sit. It's almost like something that like it's been given to me. Like if I go into Central Park a lot, I can be when I'm still, when this is still. Because we're so busy trying to like fix ourselves and change ourselves. And I think the biggest invitation is, what would happen if for a week, a day, an hour, you stopped trying to change who you are and you became more of who you are? I think that's it. So for me, I can't even tell you how to sit because it's going to be different for all of us. Yeah. And for me, it's getting, the closer I can get to the floor, the better. Because if I sit on the couch, to be honest, then it's like, oh, TV. So meditation means mindfulness, couch means Netflix. So, I got to just work with my own brain.
Oh, Petra. Well, that is just, thank you for being so open and so honest, and just, you're always so refreshing. And I love the authenticity and the passion that just seeps out of the way that you speak about your journey and your strategies. And I'm just so thankful that you were here today and being a part of Highlights. Before we jump and go and sit with things and become more of who we already are, tell us, you're so well read and you're always recommending great books and great people. Who are you digging on right now as far as nonfiction authors? I know you always have some fantastic recommendations.
Well, I'm so lucky. I mean, like with you, how lucky am I to have these friends? So I have two girlfriends in New York that really are like my homies. And when I first moved back to New York, they just like put their arms around me and they're just rock star women. So I couldn't choose one. One is Dory Clark.
Okay.
She has Entrepreneurial You, Reinventing You, and Stand Out. And she's also working on her next book. And I think I might have made it into her fourth book. I'm like,
fantastic.
But this is all about, right, in the world that we're living in right now, how more reinventing you. It's all about, and she's got really, like you talk about, really good tactical ways to like stand out, not change who you are, but change your messaging so you get heard. So that's one, Dory Clark. Anything she does, just brilliant. And then the other one, my other homie, Jenny Blake. I always get this the wrong way. Jenny Blake. She is my other amazing, amazing friend. And her work is Pivot. Hello. So just, these were like way pre-COVID times, but now with COVID, with us having to reinvent over and over again. And why I love both these women, I always say, you learn it to teach it, you live it to preach it. And both of these women live it, preach it, share it. They're the most generous, brilliant people I know. And I'm so blessed to have them as my besties also.
Well, I have heard about both these gals from you in the past. So I would love an intro at some point if you'd be open to it. And maybe we can try and get them on the Highlights podcast and share their brilliance with our tribe. That would be awesome. In the meantime, obviously, everyone listening is completely Petra Kolber obsessed, which is what happens when you hang out with Petra. If you want more of her, you can find her on all the socials. But she has this incredible thing called the Confidence Catalyst course. And it is spectacular. PetraKolber.com/confidence confidence. I'll put it in the show notes. Give it a click, give it a check out. It's all of Petra's brilliance in an incredible experience that you can use to take these ideas from the pages of her book and into the reality of your life. So I can't wait to check it out and click in there. Petra, you're such a light and such a joy. I am so thankful for our friendship, and I wish I could just get together with you and just visit and just hug and be in real life. So hopefully soon.
Yes, because part of my world tour is going to start I'm going to go to Florida and then LA. So I'll definitely come down to Laguna and visit you.
I can't wait. Petra, thank you so much. We all know how to become more of who we already are, banish our inner critics, and unleash our joy. Thanks to you. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. I adore you.
Thank you.